Kenya Society of Caregivers is an organization for young people and by young people. It started in 2009 as a network.
The reason Kenya Society of Caregivers exists is one, to offer safe space, and two, to train caregivers or empower them to be strong advocates for the rights of children. It is important that we have a network of caregivers because this is the only way caregivers feel they have an identity, they have a place to go to. They are not isolated. And when we compare the life in an orphanage and the life in the community, if you come to a community where you have no GPRS, and I love using this, it means you still get lost. But having a network that makes you're not alone and you're just a tree in a forest. So having this is important. And two is to share your experiences and our experiences for this matter. And this helps to inform practices, what are best practices going forward. And this can only happen if you have a collective voice, not just an individual. And so the collective voice will only come when we have a network which acts as a foundation.
As a group and as a society, I think our voices are important, and the expertise of lived experiences and the participation being given so that we can change the care reform.
A caregiver is anyone who spends time in a care as a child or young adult.
There is a shift on the way we are changing the way we care for children. And so there are no better people to have than the caregivers themselves. And so how they continue to get involved is to participate in trainings, to participate in workshops, to participate in conferences, and having to share on their own experience and what they think should be done, how it should be done, and when it should be done.
About involvement, it's something we are struggling with as a society because people think their way of involving us is the right way, yet we as caregivers think there's a different way that we are supposed to be involved. The aspect of involvement doesn't mean that the organization involving the caregivers has to call the shots and has to always be the one to come up with programs and just invite caregivers. The type of involvement we are talking about is the involvement of participation right from the start to the finish of a program or a workshop or a conference.
I think that's one of the biggest challenges that we are going to have, because
engagement of caregivers can be tokenistic. It has been, because if all we do and we think that participation is not involving them from planning, if we think that we are going to have a caregiver just to have them to tick and have a checklist and say, oh, we involved this caregiver and that caregiver because they came, and not really going back to what was the quality of the engagement.
In many forums I've attended, I'm always asked to give an account of the experience I lived. And my worry always is, okay, I've given the story, so what next?
Once you share your story, what exactly are you trying to communicate? What do we want to underline from your story, as opposed to seeking sympathy, because most of these caregivers don't want sympathy, they want actions. So what is beyond your story? And if we can talk about meaningful engagement, this doesn't end with the story. It ends with what comes out of that story. Sometimes you'll find the organization will tell you, we want you to share this part of your story, and they forget about the rest because that part will aligns well with the agenda. And so participation can be exploitative. And number one, I know we as the people in the sector and sometimes the organizations, we've been on the front line of demonizing the CCIs and saying how they would put words in our mouths, including one that I was in. And we do know caregivers talking about not being able to tell their true stories, but being able to tell the stories that the CCI managers want it to be, or the social workers or the caregivers. And we've been on frontline demonizing them. But how different are the organizations that will call caregivers and ask them to share what the organization wants and push the agenda? They're not any different.
The advice is, can you treat them as people? Because they're not just objects.
Allow that when a caregiver is participating, allow that they share what message they want to share. Involve them in bottom-up planning process. Let them be there, because that way they are budgeted for, and that way they do not have to feel like they are a burden. And that way they're also able to input to the agenda, because most of the agendas are developed by the organizers, and caregivers miss on that. And so when you call us to input on an already done agenda, then that way we are not able to influence the outcome of the conference or the workshop.
We as caregivers, we are not just storytellers. We are not just people to come and tap information from. We are people who are experts in our lived experiences and should be treated so.
The same experience you have because of either your professional experience is the same experience they have because their stories go back to 10 years of being in care. It equals you going to school and studying, and so they have experience. They have something to input. Sometimes we have caregivers not participating because of logistical issues, and you find that we treat other people different from caregivers. So if you're going to support a group of experts, as we call them, and you forget the caregivers, I think we continue to exploit them. So if we are giving logistical support to other people, they need to have the same logistical support. So the whole narrative of it's an opportunity, we are giving them an exposure. Exposure without support, it's not enough.
Reintegration is just preparing and equipping that young person to go back and live in the community and to fit well and to feel welcomed by the community.
Reintegration is complex for these young people, even when we are looking at, say, placement with their birth parents, because sometimes placing them with their birth parents may not be their best interest. So how will you know if they are not involved?
If we don't involve the person we are integrating in terms of getting to hear their story, do they want it or do they not want it? If they want it, how do they want it to be done? So this is the part we mostly assume and think that if we decide for them, we are doing it right, yet we are not doing it right. And secondly, if we don't strengthen them in terms of empowering them, in terms of preparing them, fully preparing them. If it is life skills, we're equipping them with life skills, practical life skills. If it is counseling, we are taking them through guidance and counseling.
Bad practices have viewed a child as a tree, where you just come one morning and you uproot and you want to reroute to another place. But you forget that these are human beings. They are not statistics. They are lives. And they're not furniture. Like one morning you'll wake up and say, oh, I want to change my living room and I want this table to move to that place. We need to understand that during the reintegration process, that this person has had relationships before. They've had contacts before. They have a life rooted in this area. And so like any other person, what would you want yourself? Would you want one day one person coming to your home and telling you to move and not telling you where you're moving to, why you're moving, and what's at stake, and what you're going to find where you're going to? And so for me, reintegration is very key for caregivers. They need to be involved. They need to know where they are going, and not just on the day, because it's not an event, it's a process. And what does a process require? There are steps. Most of these kids need to know how to do basic things. Like for me, is ironing. They need to know how to iron. They need education. They need sex education. They need to know what makes them a citizen, for example, what documents they require. They also need to know, like, upon, like committing a crime and they're arrested, where they go to, because they do not have this information. And so with the life skills, what this helps them, because they will need to feel that they now can integrate in the community, and not just with their family or with their foster family or whoever, but they also need to feel that they have integrated even with their peers who grew up in the community. And this will not come if they are not able to do normal things like the rest do. They also need to learn how to make decisions, because most of them, the decisions have been made for a long time on their behalves. And so they need to be in a place where they're able to make the decisions.
Caregivers are just like any other person who need practical skills to be taken through life and to be taken through their journeys step by step. So matters like health is an important issue, and it's wide and far.
But what you're going to talk about is hygiene. Hygiene is the cleanliness of the body.
Then we have matters like relationship. Most of the caregivers are struggling with relationships. So sexuality, as much as it's not part or process of the trainings they get in the institutions. So a topic like this in its entirety should be trained and not avoiding some aspects of it, because it's a sensitive topic to caregivers. So we should not try to choose for caregivers that this side of the story they should hear, and this other side of the story they should not hear about it. Yeah, so if you're willing to help these caregivers fit in the community and live or lead a meaningful life, we should be open and give them a whole fish and not just half fish, in terms of training and in terms of preparation and in terms of involvement.
More often we've taken caregivers as an identity, and we forget that once we mention a caregiver, that is all who they are. They have nothing else but a caregiver, and we forget that there are other aspects. If we change the way we look at these caregivers and not being like the caregiving being the identity, because there's an experience they have, and that doesn't mean that is who they are. I am not saying we should stop calling caregivers, but what I mean is we need to stop looking at them as that is all that they are made of. And when we change the way we look at them, we will change the way we engage them and the way we involve them and the way that we ask them to participate.